Hi, and welcome to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skabowski of Remax Lakes, and good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. And, we're just talking off the air just about how this crazy market continues, and it certainly does. It is just continuing.
Yeah, it's a crazy market, but let's put that but.
But, okay, all right, let's.
It's a crazy market, but.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the reason for the but in there is buyers are pretty well educated. I mean, they know what they want, and they know they seem to know where pricing is, even though pricing has been crazy and we've had this market appreciation, 10% year over year. It's kind of nuts. And it's continued for a couple of years. Eventually it'll stop. But buyers, they're well versed in what's going on. They know what's on the market. They know what's prices look like. So it's crazy, but if you're a seller, you still can't just throw it against the wall and see if it'll stick and expect it to sell.
Okay. Well, because I check Realtor.com a lot, okay? And I am seeing some prices that, to me, it's, and we talked about this a little bit last week, like you'll see the assessed value from last year, and I know that's not like an accurate number to go with, but you'll see like say a property that has like a property, like an investment property, it has been flipped, and you'll see what it sold for the last time around, and then you'll see the price that it is now. And like I saw one where the property sold for like $30,000, and a year and a half later they're trying to sell it for $194.
Right.
Which is like, okay, did you put that much money into the property?
Exactly, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
And again, that's where I say the information is out there and available. So from a seller standpoint, be prepared to justify why. Now, maybe the person who bought it to flip it or to rehab it or whatever terminology you want to use, maybe they got a screaming deal on it. And maybe they did put a lot of money in there. And there's nothing wrong. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a capitalist. There's nothing wrong with somebody making some money off of, investing and putting their time and energy into this house and making it new. But even with that, it still needs to be priced properly in order to sell. Even in this stage, and I guess that's where it's a crazy market, but you just have to slow your roll on that from that investor standpoint and understand that the buyers will pay what the market will bear, but they're not going to be stupid when it comes to that. They're not going to way overpay. But you're exactly right, and I've seen those. Somebody paid $35,000 for a house, have had it for a year and a half, and they spent that time rehabbing that property, and they've now got it listed for $179,000.
Yeah.
Now, is $179 a true market value? An agent can tell you that. And quite honestly, do we know what they did to get it to that standpoint? That's the big deal. There's one here recently that example that I just used is exactly what happened. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. They paid $35,000 for it. They went into that house, stripped it to the studs inside. So it was an old, 1880 house. They went in, stripped it to the studs. All new insulation, all new wiring, all new plumbing. Basically built a new house, all new flooring, granite countertops, painted it beautifully, nice trim, all of that stuff, and brought it back on the market at $179. Now, in that case, as an agent, I'd look at it and I would talk to my clients. I'd say, hey, these are the things that have done. And as a seller, you need to be able to promote those or market those things. And that's where an agent can help you with that.
Right.
Rather than, because buyers are going to see it. $35,000, now $179,900. Why?
Yeah.
What did you do to it? And there's some profit built into there. There should be. Why should you? Because you spent $140,000 doing all this stuff, should you not be able to make any money on it? Now, again, if they overinvested, that's their problem.
True.
That's the seller's problem. If they did stuff, they went into, for lack of a single wide trailer park and built a 4,000 square foot luxury custom home.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to be the most expensive home on the block or whatever.
It makes no sense. So if you are looking at this and trying to take advantage of those things, then do stuff that's going to be sellable. Don't overinvest in that property. So don't put granite countertops in that 900 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath property that you're trying to flip. It doesn't make any sense. And if you think you're going to get those dollars back out of it dollar for dollar. Now, maybe you want to. Maybe that's your theme. Maybe that's your brand, is you always, as a investor, when you go in and rehab properties, you always put in a tile shower. Well, okay, but just understand you're not going to get back dollar for dollar for the money that you put into that tile shower. But, again, buyers are savvy. They understand what's going on, and they can find out what you've paid. If I've been told once, I've been told 100 times. Well, they only paid X for that house. And what I just told you is exactly what I tell them. You know what? Who are we to judge? What did they do? Yeah. Is the house worth where it's at today? Did they price it, competitively today? I don't care what they paid. Is it priced competitively today in its current condition? That's an important piece to it. So if you're an investor thinking about going in to flip these things, look at what's the price going to be when I'm done? What am I paying for it? What can I put in there, and how much profit can I build into that?
With this lack of inventory that we've got going on right now, are you seeing more flips, more investors flipping, or what?
We're starting to see some of that. We are, and that's good. I mean, that's good for the marketplace. So I know last week, I said, well, the only way we're ever going to get any more inventory is new houses. Well, that's incorrect. I'll restate that. New houses and people getting rid of functionally obsolescent homes and bringing them up to today's standards to sell to buyers. That will definitely help inventory.
Okay. All right. Very good. Interesting. All right. Going to talk more about this crazy market, but ... Coming up here next, you're listening to Real Estate in Real Time.
Ready?
Yeah. Welcome back. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skabowski of RE/MAX Lakes. And we're talking about just how crazy this market has been. And we're talking about some opportunities that we can increase basically the inventory out there. Right now, it has been a seller's market. It's been a seller's market for a very, very long time. Prices are high.
Yeah.
We've got interest rates that are very, very low. That fuels... the marketplace for people to want to sell their property, maybe downsize. Maybe you're an empty nester, and then you downsize, and then it gives somebody else an opportunity to move into that that bigger family home and so forth. But we've talked about a couple of different ways that we can help fuel the marketplace, and that's by new home construction, and then also by flipping. And so we're seeing more flips and so forth because it's taking time for the new market, the new construction to hit. Because they start a house right now, it's going to be 4 months before they finish that.
Yeah, and the cost of materials, whether you're doing a flip or a rehab, whatever you want to call it, or you're building brand new, the cost of materials, the cost of labor, all of those things have gone up, and then there's scarcity due to COVID. Lumber. I've got a guy that does a lot of work for us, and he does some remodels and things like that. And he had somebody that wanted a deck last summer, and he had to put in an order, and then he was driving to Ohio to pick up 2x12s.
Yeah,
it's because there aren't any locally sourced, or they're committed anything that's locally sourced. So that's where the investors that are buying these homes to flip, they probably don't need as much in the way of those type raw materials, lumber. They'll need drywall, they'll need paint, all of those things, but those are more readily available than lumber. There's definitely a lumber shortage, and prices are astronomical. There were some new builds that last year, their prices this year, I sold one out in Eagle Crest last year. By the time it was done, it was $242, $245, something like that. That same house this year, is $265. So that much appreciation year over year. It's a good quality build. And even at $245 last year, I was like, holy moly, this is a lot of money. Again, you can tell you've been in the business a long time when those same homes were selling, 10 years ago for $130,000, and now they're $240.
Right.
And I won't say a specific house there, but that's what the neighborhoods would support at that time. And it's just crazy to think that $240,000 is a first-time home buyer type home.
No.
Now that's not the average. Our average price here is still, $165, $170. But that's what the demand, so the new construction that we're seeing, it's tough to find new build for anything, under 200,000. I mean, and that's tough. That is a tough market. And those that you do find are going to be smaller. It's less square footage than what you could get if you buy that older home. So there's always trade-offs for buyers. There's always trade-offs. Do I want a new home? Yes, I do. Well, you're going to pay a premium for it. You're going to pay a higher price than if you buy an older home that maybe you can go in and rehab. Now, I know within the marketplace, we see a lot of buyers, they don't want to fix anything. They want a perfect house when they walk in. Now, there is no perfect house, having designed and built two myself.
Right.
And once I'm in 30 days, it's like, man, I wish I would have,
Yep.
I should have done this different, should have done that different. But when you're out there looking for a buyer, the market is moving so quickly, you have to be decisive. You need to be ready, and you may need to make some sacrifices. Think about it. Why am I buying? What's my long-term strategy here? Is this a 2-year house? Is this my end-of-life house? Those are things that need to go into your decision making. And the reality is right now, if you're buying, you're going to be buying at a premium. So just understand that. But the good news is, after all of the changes that we went through with COVID, and even though it's a seller's market and things are moving quickly, we did have some delays up front with COVID. Transactions had slowed down because the title companies had to adapt, the mortgage lenders had to adapt. Everybody had to figure out, how do we work in this new normal? Things are moving pretty quickly. I mean, you can still close things today, get an accepted offer, and on average, you're still closing within 30 to 45 days. So it's corrected itself.
Yeah, we figured it out.
We did.
People are now used to working in a pandemic.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary to say, but people are used to this, and so we have figured it out, and so we have adapted for sure.
Yeah, every industry has done it, to virtual showings, those kind of things. One thing I did want to throw out there for buyers, though, and it's, when you're going to look at a house the first time, and we still see it to this day, primarily it's first-time homeowners. They're dragging along grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, aunts, uncles, 15 kids, that's an exaggeration. But, you don't need to take every person in your family to make the decision on the first home that you go look at. You can always schedule a second showing. Now, again, the market's moving fast. You got to make a decision quickly. But, only bring decision makers to showings, because sellers are still hesitant to have that number of people traipsing through. Remember, we're still in the middle of this pandemic. So understand that. So decision makers only going to look at houses. You'll make it a more seamless process for you on the buying side.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. All right, hey Mark, your contact information?
Sure, our website is lakes-realtors.com. Phone numbers 574-834-1233. I do eventually post these things out to our YouTube channel. It's Real Estate in Real Time. I edit them a little bit. We got to work on some bloopers. We got to get some off-air stuff so we can get that out there. Because Roger does a great job editing us.
Yeah, he does. Thank you, Roger.
All right, appreciate it.
All right. You've been listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Have yourself a wonderful weekend.